you've got Year 13 now. We talk about your insights earlier and what the organization does. I'm curious around the moment where you guys start to realize you had an effect, like a genuine effect, not just on individuals, but on a cohort of people in their lives. And, we talk about hopes, fears, and dreams as one of the topics I mentioned earlier. You guys do studies on attitudes, habits, perceptions of business of young people. It makes me wonder a few things about how now we're getting into Gen Z, how things are changing. But I guess what is the insight that has surprised you both on the upside and the downside? So what's sort of the fear that has surprised you, and what is the aspiration that has surprised you as this next generation has come through?
I think the biggest thing is that Gen Zs, this generation, they're known as digital natives. They've grown up with the influence of and the connectivity of the internet. So Facebook, Instagram, Snap, like the social platforms have been a part of their development. And so I think now more than ever, young people are more aware of a lot of the problems. And I think they feel as though they have more of a voice. And, going back to when we first started Year 13, I'll never forget it. We've always been data driven, and we would create content around a lot of these problems. So I remember one of our early articles was like the value of a gap year. One of the professors out of Sydney Uni came out saying that they see a distinct difference between a student that takes a gap year in terms of completions and successions in their degree versus students that don't burn out a lot quicker and lose interest. And so, we took that and basically wrote an article around, the value of a gap year. Both Will and I were fortunate enough to spend some time backpacking in different trips at different periods of our lives. And that made a lot of sense. And so we created a piece like that and we put it out. And then all of a sudden we got inundated with people, tagging, commenting, inboxing us, writing into the site saying like, oh, thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing this. I've been trying to articulate it, but never been able to know how to
right.
do you actually help people find gap years? Like, what do you guys, what can you help me find one? We do similar thing with like trades and apprenticeships. We would just do are trades greater than a degree, and going essentially, again, ABS data. Did you know that as an apprentice graduate or a vet graduate, you can graduate $150,000 ahead of a university counterpart when you take into consideration time studying, HECS debt, wages earned, opportunity, and did that and just had a comparison there and some creative wordsmithing and making it kind of quite relative. And same thing, just inundated with people being like, I've been trying to speak to my mum and dad about this. Do you actually help people get into apprenticeships? I'm wanting to be able to do this. So that's always driven us, I think. Just recently we've done a reshaping of the business and going back to our core principles and purpose and our why and why we want to, what we set out to do, 10 years ago when Will and I kind of kicked this thing off. And, I've got on my computer screen next to the room a inbox from a girl that was just like, I'll grab it. Hang on, 2 seconds.
Yeah. Just on that point about the gap year, Will, do you know what it does? Just quickly.
In what facet you mean?
How there was that data on the fact that this professor said someone who did a gap year had better completion rates. What is it about a gap year that you guys have noticed? Is it the fact that it just gives people space?
So I think it's clarity and confidence. So people that come back and continue with the degree have more clarity that that's what they want to do, or they might have pivoted already, and confidence in themselves.
Character development was one of the big ones.
Because if you think about it, you finish high school, November, you've done your exams, right? And then you get your score a month later and you're going through your application process, and uni starts in March, April. So you really have no time to really let yourself decompress properly. Because that summer period, when I think about it and what I did, all you did is just go out and socialize and work.
If you're one of the people that can do that, And it's, but it goes back even further. You're starting year 12 and it's like, we've got early entrance. It's like, you've got your estimates. You've got to make your first choices. You got to make your second choices. Like, there's such a precedence in making those decisions before you're even there. You don't even know. And let's say that you stumble in a couple of exams or a couple of assessments and you don't get into your first or second preference. It's like, holy shit,
Yeah.
now I've just got to take whatever I can. And you're kind of excluding any other opportunity. And with a gap year, it's like, you go off and work. Like, Will and I talk about how everyone should work in hospitality for one stage of their life. Like, hospitality is the ultimate equalizer because the customer is always right. You've got to work late nights. You've got to be multitasking. It's highly stressful. You've got to manage that stress. Like, it's incredibly rewarding. You're taught sales skills. You're taught like customer service skills. It's empathy. There's so many values that come from doing that. And, you take a gap year, you go work in another country, you experience different cultures, even if it's domestic. Like, one of our most popular programs is Jackarooing. You think suburban life is stressful? Go out to northern New South Wales when there's a mice plague going on and you've got to be trying to put in crops, or you've got to be bringing in moving cattle 120 kilometers in a day and you've got 6,000 cattle in front of you. Like, that's stress compared to, are we going to go out this Thursday or not? Like, it's a completely different experience. And I think that's what was validated through that research piece, was that you go off there and do that and you come back and then you're ready to go into education. You can actually make a right decision, was the biggest thing. But just going back to it, Jordan, I just ran and grabbed the quote. And this is what still drives us to today. But it was, someone sent us in a thing and they just go, hey, I don't know who posted this, but I just want to reach out to you guys and thank you for letting me see that I'm not alone. You guys have been a big help. Thank you for all that you do. You inspire us all and you inspire people to be better. You're changing the world. And I think that is where, full circle in the conversation is like, young people have that voice and they've got the platforms to be able to, engage with things that are built by like-minded people that help them understand their own interests and skills. And by being able to do that, it recycles back onto us and we go through the good days. We've had great days and we've had some shocking days. We've had horrible days. But when we get, inboxes and messages like that, it makes everything worthwhile for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. I can see where, and Year13 makes that, like you said, come full circle because you're giving that people that awareness. I was just thinking as you were answering that situation about the people with the gap year, I just wish I found you guys when I was finishing high school, because going back to the bad advice that I had at high school, I just remember I was so adamant on doing commerce at Monash, and then I didn't get the right marks. Like I missed out by 5 points or something like that. And the advice was like, oh, just go to this other uni, which at the time was Australian Catholic uni, and it's basically the same course, and you're just going to get this mark and you can transfer. And it never eventuated. And also the course, they integrated all this sort of philosophy shit that I just did not want to do, like religious philosophy as compulsory units. And I was just like, I've wasted the last year of my life. And you know what? The best thing I did in that year was I took basically a part-time or near full-time job working in hospitality as like a wine waiter, because I had that interest in that. So that was probably the best experience of the year, was the work. So you've hit the nail on the head there, I think.